翼で今全部を切っ去って飛べ
Sports anime, a genre of anime that never really got all the buzz as it gets nowadays. But believe it or not, these kind of anime have been around for a long time. Well, perhaps more or less the manga at least. In fact, some sports mangas have been written and illustrated far before some of us were even born. Some of these old-timer manga include titles such as Star of the Giants, a manga based on baseball, Ashita no Joe, a boxing anime, Speed Racer, of course, as you guessed, an anime with cars, and of course, the list goes on. Now me, being an athlete, someone who's played sports competitively ever since I was a kid, this genre really struck at me different. It was something that, if not done perfect, made me feel like dropping the anime as a whole. Now see, something very common among sports anime and manga is their uncanny ability to add in a false reality to the game and yet still consider it the same sport that was being played. We see this countless, and I mean countless times with anime such as Kuroko no Basket, Prince of Tennis. I mean, like, seriously. These dudes were literally sliding across the court and doing backflips to hit the tennis ball. Keijo and Inazuma 11, a soccer anime. Wait for it. With freaking explosions and human beings flying into outer space. The list doesn't stop here, surprisingly. There are countless sports anime that I haven't even mentioned that take visual metaphors to a whole nother level. But alongside these shonen superpower type sports anime, there are those few that take place in a more realistic situation. Animes in this hidden genre are animes such as Cross Game, a baseball anime, Giant Killing, a soccer anime, Aim for the Ace, a tennis anime, movie, and of course the list goes on. As you see, there's always a replacement ready in place for the superpower-like sports anime. These anime follow a more realistic path, one that involves a solid storyline and most likely actual tactics and actual sports-like movements needed to win. But with this being said, the reason most of these realistic anime fly under the radar isn't just because people somehow actually prefer superpowers, but because they possibly lack the proper build-up, the proper storyline, and the proper mechanics and in-game animation used to really make the viewer feel as though they are there, watching everything unfold in front of their very eyes. So it only makes sense that when an anime like Haikyuu comes around, it is suddenly blowing up all of Japan. I mean, literally, just look at these numbers for the manga sales. But see, this led me to a question. Why? Why is Haikyuu so successful? Why is it that Haikyuu is able to compare with the likes of top-tier sports anime such as Kuroko no Basket? Well, while I was watching, reading, and researching about this anime, I realized something. I was wrong. I was completely and utterly wrong. No, you see, to compare Haikyuu to the likes of an anime such as Kuroko no Basket would be an insult to Haikyuu itself. Haikyuu is on a whole different tier than pretty much every anime I've listed this entire video, and today I shall be breaking down exactly why this is. Like every legendary anime, it always starts with the characters. In Haikyuu, the anime revolves around a boy by the name of Hinata Shoyo. Now don't you worry, this isn't a video explaining Haikyuu, so I'm gonna figure that most of y'all here have seen Haikyuu, and for that reason, I'm gonna skip the introduction. The characters, well, how do I put it, are in the literal sense perfectly made. You can literally see personalities comparable to those found on a real court in any sport for that matter. The characters really go to reflect hard-working athletes who undergo challenges with absolute determination. Each character has a solid and very realistic storyline behind them, and not a single character, I dare say, lacks in character development. Now, aside from the characters themselves, another reason that this sports anime just exceeds the rest is its raw and, I mean, perfect, literal perfect storyline. You see, a lot of sports anime fail at one thing. Realistic or not, a lot of them fail at using the tactic of surprise to their advantage. When I say this, I mean this in the sense of predicting what will happen next. Most sports anime storylines are so easy to predict that it's just to a point where you decide, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna watch the rest of the anime to see how they win the whole thing. And well, of course, maybe to see the explosions. But you see, when it comes to Haikyuu, it's the exact opposite of that. This sports anime had everyone on edge. Literally on the edge of their seat because of how intense the games were. Now see, as someone who's played in countless tournaments in real life, seen countless sports anime and anime in general, I find it very easy to crack the code on even the most in-depth storylines. Although I managed to get a glimpse of what tournaments would be won and what tournaments would be lost after the first tournament of Haikyuu, keep that in mind, there was still this little noise in my head that was bothering me. It gave me this feeling of just blatant uncertainty. I just didn't know for sure what was gonna happen. And when I tell you I turned out to be wrong on many occasions, sadly that was the truth. My point being, Haikyuu does a superior job of keeping the storyline unpredictable and keeping every challenge realistic. Now see, this doesn't mean that visual metaphors were not present. Yes, like almost every anime, there were indeed visual metaphors, such as crows representing Team Kurasuno, swans representing Team Shiratorizawa, and the list goes on for a lot of these teams. Also to take in note, Hinata's jumping ability is compared to that of a flight of a bird in many scenes. Hinata's name itself in a sense means sunshine, while Kageyama's name, or to be exact, Kage, means shadow. All these visual metaphors are simply reflecting the teams in the character's personality. Now, besides the impeccable characters and unbeatable storyline, there is one more key factor that puts Haikyuu at the very top. This is the animation itself. Now, when it comes to top sports anime, the animation can be broken down to two different types. The overall animation of the anime itself and the in-game animation, or otherwise known as the angles and the camera work used to make the viewer really feel like they are there. There aren't many sports anime, if any sports anime, that can pull this off. I mean, take a look at these clips from Haikyuu. Each angle from each spike, the angle for each set, every angle used when blocking, literally every single angle ever used in this anime almost seems too perfect to be true. This really goes to show how in depth they really went to make sure that this anime was the one and only. The reality of it is, when you watch these matches of Haikyuu, unlike other sports anime for the most part, you feel more engaged. You feel like you can actually see everything happening right in front of your eyes. It's honestly a thing to behold, and I can only really explain this by telling you, go watch it. I don't know, I can't even begin to explain how good this is. Like, if you haven't seen Haikyuu, you need to go watch it. It is literally beyond worth your time. It's just mind-blowing how they can take a sport such as volleyball that even people who've never played volleyball or seen volleyball would start this anime and learn it within a couple episodes and fall in love with it. And it's just this beautiful thing that most sports animes, I guess I should say, can't even pull this off. And those are all most probably the key points when it comes down to what really separates this anime from its competition. If you guys enjoyed the video, please do make sure to subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. It really genuinely gives me loads of motivation, even just seeing the subscriber count go up by one to keep on posting. And y'all can be on the lookout for weekly videos. I shall try my best to provide y'all with top tier content every week. And until then, I guess, see ya.